Hey everyone, welcome back for another developer interview. In today's video, I'm speaking with Mario, a former developer of Xonotic who worked on the project for over 10 years. Xonotic is an open source arena FPS game and can be downloaded for free at xonotic.org. The footage you're going to be watching during the interview is of Mario's latest project, a Quake mod he created for Xonotic. There is a server online and you can go play this mod there. I also want to use this time to remind you that all of my videos have subtitles, so at any point you're having trouble understanding, please turn those on. Thanks for watching. Let's get to the interview. So what's kind of your history kind of growing up and playing games, and did you play classic shooter games growing up?
I, for the most part, actually played Mario games growing up.
Hence the name Mario.
Exactly.
So is like Super Mario, just that whole franchise, are those like your favorite games of all time, would you say?
Yeah, they're definitely up there for me.
Do you have any others that are standouts?
Well, over the years I've found some that I just keep coming back to, like Terraria and Minecraft and stuff. I kind of like the exploration and the sandboxes.
So you came from kind of a platforming background with Mario games, and now you're playing, sandbox games. Terraria is kind of like in between. It's got that platforming camera angle. What interested you in joining the development team for Xon and a first-person shooter game that is completely different than those kind of games?
It is quite ironic. I was actually introduced to it because I was part of like a Linux owners group, and they wanted to showcase an open source game to show people that there's a lot to it, and I was a part of that little event, and that's how I found Xonotic as it was.
Okay, so you went from a Linux group. What was that? You said a Linux source group? Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Like a Linux owners group.
Oh, owners. Linux owners group. Okay, so you went from Linux to get involved with Xon because it was because
it's open
the Linux
source.
Yeah, because it's open source and the Linux aspect of it. So what about Xon particularly? I mean, you dedicated nearly a decade of your life developing for it. So what specifically about Xon became so interesting for you to dedicate so much time to it?
Well, it's got a lot of those elements in a way, like you get to explore and play different kinds of maps, and you get to do all these crazy things. There's so much hidden bonus content in the game that to this day I'm still finding new things. I think that's what I really like about it, just that it's basically a game of Easter eggs and having fun.
Yeah, case in point, the server that we're going to be playing on here in a little bit. So I know the development of Xon has spanned a really, really long time, but do you know why the team settled on the Dark Places as an engine?
Yeah, one of the original developers of Nexius, they were the creator of the Dark Places engine.
Lord Havoc that's the developer of Dark Places?
Yeah.
Okay. And so they developed Nexius, and then I know that whole thing was kind of a crazy thing when they tried to commercialize it, and then it split off, and then Crytek got involved, and I know a little bit about that. But when the open source aspect of it wanted to stay open source, that's when Xonotic forked off, right? And then you guys just stuck with Dark Places because that's what it was originally developed off of?
Yeah, pretty much.
So we talk about a lot of the Easter eggs hidden throughout the project. Like you said, I'm somebody that has just barely scratched the surface of the community. I mean, I started by just kind of playing it because it looked kind of like Quake 3. And so I've barely scratched the surface of the Easter egg component. Going into that, is there a particular contribution of yours that has kind of made it front end of the game that you're particularly really proud of?
Oh, there's so many things I've added to the game that I'm really happy for, but I think still to this day one of my favorites is my improvements to the physics and the prediction of the game. So like when you're playing with a high ping, which I always had to as an Australian. Yeah, I'm very proud of how far I've brought that aspect of the game.
I'm not nearly as high ping as you, but I usually have kind of bad internet, and I do have to say that I feel like the prediction in the game's great. So how did you get started with your whole programming career, so to speak?
It's actually funny. I got into programming because I wanted to have colorful chat in the game.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I asked around, and there were some amazing people in the community that were happy to help me get that set up.
So you just wanted to have colorful text characters in the game, and that whole thing started your programming journey?
Pretty much.
What do you do in real life? Are you a programmer in your real life job?
I am currently unemployed, actually.
Oh, okay. Have you been a programmer in real life in the past?
I've done some commissioned work in programming. Funny enough, that was also for Xonotic.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, that's awesome that it's opened so many doors for that. So you're not currently developing on Zon right now, and you were part of that core team for a long time. So you've obviously done a lot for the game, but if you could go back in time and change something maybe that you've implemented or something that you would want implemented that's not there yet, do you have something that you would go and change about Zon?
As a game designer, there's probably a million things I could list off that I wanted to change. Yeah, probably the game modes. A lot of them are very bare bones and never received much attention. I would have loved to have gone in and made them actually playable. Domination game mode.
Oh, that okay.
Yeah, the things that you don't see on the servers anymore, just because they're so underdeveloped.
Oh, that makes sense. Is there a Mario game mode hidden somewhere in the game?
There is actually.
I knew it. Does it put you in the camera
Besides
perspective?
scrolling mode, it does.
That's awesome.
We made all of Mario Bros. 1, all the levels.
And you are just like a Xonotic character model running through the Mario levels?
Yeah, exactly.
So for somebody like me who, let's say I wanted to set up a server and started playing, how do you access some of these kind of more hidden Easter eggy features? Are they done but through console commands, or is it you have to download specific files to put them in your server configurations to set it up?
Yeah, it's really a mix of both, I'd say. Like, you need the maps to be able to play on, and those are just from third-party websites and stuff.
So you started because you were part of a Linux group, and then you joined because you wanted to create colorful text, and then that started you on a programming journey. So I think it's safe to say that you're completely self-taught.
Yeah, besides help from, like, people like Akari and Samuel, who was one of the Xonotic developers. They really helped me get into it.
What language is Dark Places engine?
The engine is written in C.
Okay. So when you're coding, are you coding everything in C?
I work in Xonotic's language, the game code, which is in Quake C.
Okay, so it is based off of that's John Carmack's original language for Quake.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, cool. Well, it's cool for me to kind of try to piece the puzzle together, because that's the kind of reason why I like to have these chats, is because it's fun to just, for me, to kind of see how the project started and how an open source project kind of works. I've never been part of an open source community before. Do you have any other projects that you've worked on besides your work on Xonotic?
I, for the most part, have avoided doing programming and stuff for other projects, because I know how much of a hook it can be to continue developing for them. I only really contribute small pieces now and then to things like Minecraft mods when we're playing with them.
Okay. So do you have any of your own projects that you work on, like in your free time for stuff like that, or are you kind of mostly passing the torch of game development on to the next group of Zon developers?
Well, I have some projects, like the Quake servers, like that's a completely separate mod from the main game, so most of my stuff is pretty closely tied to Xonotic still.
What was kind of your inspiration for creating the Quake Classic server? I mean, it's obviously Horde mode, but there was a lot more happening than happens in Quake. Can you kind of explain a little bit, like, why you wanted to take that project on?
Well, Xonotic has such deep roots in Quake, like Dark Places is a Quake engine, and Xonotic is based on Quake in many ways. So in a ways, it was like bringing the game back to roots, but also it's just a genuinely fun experience. Like, it's just such a timeless game, Quake. You can go back and play through the levels and all the monsters and everything, and it's pretty much fun every time. And I really like that aspect of fun about games. I think that's what kept me coming back to like Quake and Xonotic. They're just genuinely fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. I think that's what a lot of gamers, especially the ones that are going to watch my channel, are going to completely agree with you. That's why we keep doing it, just because it's it's timeless and it's fun. And now with games being remastered, like Quake being remastered, Quake 2 just being remastered, it's obviously very apparent that people want to keep playing these games. If time and money were not a factor for you personally, and you could take on any project you want, do you have a project that you would love to tackle yourself?
Probably an open source survival sandbox, just because I love those kinds of experiences, and there's still so many aspects of them that haven't been explored.
Are there many open source sandbox games out there?
Open source, not really. I mean, there's Minetest, of course, which is like an open source clone of Minecraft.
Yeah, my knowledge on open source is very limited to the FPS scene with Xonotic and Open Arena being another one. Have you ever contributed to any other projects, or is Zon basically the only one you've contributed to?
Yeah, it's pretty much just been Xonotic for me, just because it's what I know and I know how things work here and stuff like that.
So are you officially done being part of Zon's core team, or do you think you'll ever go back to it?
That is a tricky question.
Well, if it's too tricky, I don't want to. If there's drama involved or anything, I'm not trying to drag that up. I'm just curious, so you can share whatever you feel like you want to on that one.
I still interact with the team now and then. Like, I sometimes check the website and see how things are progressing, and if it looks like they need help, I'll lend a hand and stuff. But yeah, I'm not sure at this point if I want to continue contributing directly.
Fair enough. Well, I guess that's the end of the interview, Mario. Thanks again so much for talking with me today, especially because you had to wake up super early due to the time difference, and I know you said you didn't get a lot of sleep, but thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's all good.
All right, everybody. Thanks again so much for tuning in to this interview with Mario, a former Xonotic core team member and developer. And I hope that video was able to give you a lot of insight about open source and how games like Xonotic are developed. If you're interested in playing Xonotic, I have links in the video description below. And please let me know in the comments below if you're enjoying these interviews. They take a lot of time to set up, but if you're enjoying watching them and listening to them, I'll keep trying to make them happen. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all of that good stuff. And thanks again. I'm SaltyOctopus, and I will see you next time.